Hi everyone, and very welcome you are to this channel, NarcCon, where we deal with all things in relation to narcissism, the narcissistic personality disorder. In understanding it, we can avoid it going forward, and we can better deal with any narcissists we have the misfortune of having in our lives or having to deal with on a daily basis at this moment in time. Narcissists' core values, their core value is based around exploitation and taking advantage of people, being opportunistic in the moment. And understanding that will better protect us, where we can use our discernment going forward after we go through these examples, and I hope they'll be helpful. And just as a side note, guys, I would like to say I do believe the education is getting out there. Thanks to you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for leaving highly intelligent comments. There is perhaps an overemphasis on calling everybody a narcissist. And we know from this education and this community that the narcissistic personality disorder follows a very ordered pattern, and people do display signs of narcissism, and they aren't necessarily full-blown narcissists. So it's important, because of the overuse of the word, to differentiate between someone who has a disordered personality and who is predictable in their behaviours in the disorder, and people who just display signs of narcissism, even healthy narcissism from time to time. So it literally, you need to look at the overall time span and behaviour patterns, consistent behaviour patterns in an individual, and go to the DSM, where they will list criteria of the narcissistic personality disorder if you're in a situation where you're trying to identify whether you're with a narcissist who definitely won't go to therapy. So your only recourse is to try to come to some kind of decision on your own, either with a therapist on your own or through coaching. Without further ado, let's get into this particular identification of how a narcissist is exploitative and opportunistic, and why they are like that, in order to protect ourselves going forward. So basically, the narcissist's identity is not built on a stable foundation. It doesn't have core values that run through the construction of the personality. The personality is adaptive to every situation and every individual it comes across. So it adapts to people's personalities and situations, rather than having a core value of integrity, personal beliefs, moral values that they meet each situation and individual with. It is confusing in some ways, because narcissists can present as being consistent, in that the main pillars of their construction don't seem to change, i.e. maybe they're a family woman, family man, they are a creative person. There's a few things that will run through their life and seem to remain stable, but that's just the external construction of their image. What we're talking about here is the motivators behind the true personality, and how they actually act in situations and towards individuals. Because remember, here we're dealing with covert narcissists. So the general public may see a figure that's stable, but their interactions, their personal interactions on a one-to-one basis, are going to show a whole different story, a whole different behaviour pattern, a whole different way of being that will be unrecognisable from what they actually put out there to the general public. So they, as we say, they adapt to people and situations, and that's what you've got to be careful of. And even in their public construction, they will change that to a certain extent if they feel that their core construction isn't working for them at any given time. And that's what we need to watch for. We need to watch for hypocrisy in a person, where they say one thing and do another, and how they change their core values. This can be seen in a public setting, even though it's normally seen on a one-to-one basis. So how do they take advantage of us? How do they adapt to us? And what do we need to watch out for? I'm going to give, I think it's not 10 examples of how a narcissist will show you their opportunistic and exploitative side. The first example I would have would be the narcissist's sexual proclivities, or proclivities, I think that's the word. Basically, the narcissist's sexual orientation. Most of us have a core sexual orientation towards one sex or the same sex. There are people who are bisexual, and I'm not saying anyone that's bisexual is a narcissist. So please just put that out there first. If you think about the basis of narcissism and the personality disorder, narcissists need control and they need narcissistic supply. So if they're going to adapt their sexual orientation into being bisexual, and let me know if you suspected your particular narcissist of being not what they said they were. This doubles their chances of being able to exploit a person. It literally 50% gives them 50% more chance in this world of having more people to exploit. So they can use their sexuality. Remember, they don't have a stable personality identity. So sex is a tool to the narcissist. As I'm sure a lot of you have found out, you would have been roped in with their sexual experience and their seemingly sexual intensity. Now, they will also take advantage of this if there's a situation where you're in a society where maybe being gay is not as out as it is in other societies where it's more acceptable and more the norm nowadays. They would harp on someone who was keeping their sexuality a secret and exploit them or blackmail them through that. Or if there was a person in powerful position who didn't want their sexuality to come out, they would exploit that particular situation. So without labouring this point, narcissists will adapt to any sexual orientation if it's advantageous to them. The next example I would have would be how they use gender. Literally, particularly with females, this is, I suppose, more female-based in this situation. If using your femininity and, you know, poor me, poor woman, I'm being, say, domestically abused, or please have sympathy for me because I'm on my own, you know, with the kids, I've no one to protect me. Can you protect me? I need money, I've no money. Your gender, narcissists use their gender if it will enhance their situation or if it will draw sympathy from people. They will exploit this, particularly in a court situation, particularly against men, and I think this is pretty heinous. They will say that they're being physically abused when they're actually not, and the opposite may be the case. So literally a narcissist will use their gender if they believe that it's going to be of an advantage to them. They'll jump on the gender bandwagon and try and garner sympathy or maneuver their position into a better position by jumping on the gender bandwagon, basically. And it's horrible. And a lot of men are going through narcissistic abuse with women using this particular tool. So again, leave your comments if you have an example of that. The next example, which is really awfully used, and a recent video that I did there got some fairly nasty comments about this, going off the topic of a behaviour analysis altogether and basically race baiting and using the race card. People use a good cause. They harness a good cause where people are genuine and have genuine concerns and genuine problems, and they will jump on that bandwagon. They'll yank your chain, so to speak, and say, you know, I'm one of you, I believe in your cause, and all these people are hating me and going against me because of my skin tone. Because only these people are only going against me because of my skin tone. But that would be like me saying, say I was in a different country, and so I'm an Irish citizen. So supposing an Irish citizen, what would you say, committed a crime, and I was there as a witness or whatever, and I said, no, they didn't do that. They couldn't do that. They're Irish. They're an Irish citizen. An Irish citizen wouldn't do that. So we really have to use our discernment here. Just because a person, you identify with a person, just because they say they believe in your cause and promote your cause, it doesn't do your cause or yourself any good to hook yourself onto that hypocritical person who's basically using and abusing a good cause for their purposes, to garner support and to actually to raise up people on their side against people that are telling the truth, against people that are looking at things objectively. So that's a very, very, very dangerous one. And in the end, these type of hypocrites will turn a good cause into something that people hate, that people disrespect, and that people are fed up with. So it's really important to call them out. Doesn't matter if they're on your team, doesn't matter if they're on your side, if they're doing something that's wrong, if their behaviour is suspect, please look at it objectively and don't be yanked by your chain cause and be pulled along by this person. Look at the behaviour, look at the actions and look at the words. So don't become prejudiced by your own good beliefs. That's basically how a narcissist will get in with you, will use you, use your cause, and abuse you and use you to go against other people for their purposes. They don't give a damn about you. The next thing I would say is, if there is an ethnic minority in a particular country or a smaller group of people in a wider population, and they're being discriminated against or they need protection. Again, it's the same, I suppose, as the race, the gender, or the sexuality. The narcissist will take up that cause, or if they misbehave themselves, they will then identify with the ethnic minority, against the ethnic minority, and say, you can't prosecute me because I'm more protected than a normal citizen because I'm of an ethnic minority. Sorry, getting tongue-tied there. Again, that's a useful tool to a narcissist. If society is genuinely protecting people that need protecting, they will jump on that bandwagon and get away with bad behaviour because they say, you can't go against me because I have extra protection. Another place narcissists will exploit people and, again, just use the situation, or opportunistic, is in the service industry. People in the service industry really get battered by narcissists because they need their job. They need to hold on to their job, and their narcissistic client is aware that that person needs to hold on to their job and will have to be seen as being polite and will have to serve the narcissist or the client as they should, but the narcissist will look for 3 times what the person in that role should be supplying for the narcissist, and will threaten complaint, or if they're not allowed to abuse the person in the service industry or the service role, they will complain about that person post the service. They will definitely use people in positions of vulnerability to either get double the service they're entitled to, or to feel superior to that person and make sure that they suffer if they don't conform to what the narcissist's demanding. Basically, bullying people in the service industry is what narcissists do. They take advantage of the person and the situation. The next situation you would get where narcissists are exploitative and opportunistic are when they're in a position of authority. They will use that position and exploit the power of that position, again, to people that are under them. Even still in this day and time where there's more regulations, the narcissist will use and abuse a situation, basically, as a person in a situation of authority. Next example I would have is, and this has happened and I've experienced this, where you have an institution where there is a lack of regulation. And it happens today, it actually happens today, where you have, say in a medical situation, where you have somebody who's in power in a hospital situation and there's no correct procedure or regulation, or there's not enough checking on how things are done. People get away with murder in those situations. And if you have a narcissist in that situation, and I will give an example of this at some stage, possibly down the line, of how narcissistic doctors and people in positions in institutions that aren't properly regulated will abuse the situation. And another one we've covered before is people in the work situation. They will, if they're in any position of authority again, will take the ideas from people who work under them and push them off as their own ideas. They will not credit people who have done a lot of hard work. They'll take the credit for all that hard work that's been done. And I know a lot of you would be familiar with this in the workplace situation. Pretty disgusting, very frustrating, very aggravating, and this needs to be handled with extreme care, documentation, and eventually, if you handle it the right way, a lot of the time you can address this particular situation, but emotions have to be taken out of it. A high regulation and habitual documentation of what's going on, and then approaching the correct person with the situation you're enduring. And it's not always HR. HR, remember, are very company orientated, and they're there for the company, not for the individual, which is a mistake a lot of us make in these situations. But there again, you have plagiarism, and not just in the workplace. You have plagiarism where people copy other people's ideas. And again, we're living in a world of copyright. We seem to have to copyright everything, or it's passed off as the original creation of somebody else. The last example I've gotten of narcissists, true identity, where they're opportunistic and exploitative. And this is a situation, guys, that they work in best. The narcissist creates chaos in interpersonal relationships because of their exploitative and opportunistic nature, because they will turn any situation into an advantageous situation for them, because they're not having to deal with conscience and morality and a core value that is stable. Their core value changes all the time. Their core value is only to get one over on you and gain narcissistic supply, have power and control over individuals and situations, and feed themselves to keep going. So yes, if you put food out on the table for them in a situation, they will get you to turn your back and they'll eat the whole dinner in front of you. They look for opportunities where they can take advantage of you all the time. The last one I have down is a narcissist will definitely, and this is fairly awful, they will take advantage of you if you are sick or if you're in a weaker situation than they are. They will jump on the bandwagon. They may have been even in a relationship. They may have been about to leave you, and you get, this is awful now, you get a terminal diagnosis, and they're there, they're staying with you, they're giving you their all, but they're making damn sure that they're in your will and that they're going to benefit from that. So that's a real opportunity for a narcissist to exploit your weakness, exploit a situation that should not be exploited ever, where you deserve compassion, you deserve help and support, And you're going to get that in a fake way from a narcissist because there's going to be a reward at the end of it. That's us done for today, guys. The next vid coming out is going to be about the narcissistic friend, and I have another one going to come out about how to combat a narcissist smear campaign. So if you have any ideas and anything that you'd like me to cover, please leave in the comments and I will take a great good look at and see if we can come up with any content in relation to your request. Don't forget, a little flick of the button is a huge thing for me. Like, share, subscribe, please. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you again and my sleepy friend very shortly.